Welcome back to Fan Friday, a series where I pick one of you guys' what if theories every week. Thanks to Skullstorm for this video. What if Jedi Battlemaster Sin Drallig trained Anakin Skywalker? From the moment Anakin Skywalker was brought before the Jedi High Council, there was much debate over his training. Yoda, skeptical of the boy's future, was hesitant, while Obi-Wan Kenobi, despite his promise to Qui-Gon Jinn, was not ready to take on such a responsibility. It was Master Windu who ultimately suggested a different path. The boy is powerful, Windu had said. If he is to be trained, he must be disciplined. He must learn restraint before he learns freedom. Thus, Anakin Skywalker was not placed under Obi-Wan Kenobi's mentorship, but instead handed over to Sin Drallig, Jedi Battlemaster and Chief of Security for the Jedi Temple. Master Drallig was a stern, disciplined teacher. Unlike Obi-Wan, who balanced mentorship with camaraderie, Drallig offered no warmth, only guidance, only training. From the moment Anakin became his Padawan, his days were consumed by relentless drills, force control exercises, and deep philosophical discussions about what it meant to be a Jedi. Skill without control is recklessness, Drallig told him during one of their first training sessions, standing in the dojo deep within the Jedi Temple. And recklessness is the road to the dark side. Anakin learned all 7 forms of lightsaber combat, a feat that very few Jedi accomplished. Form 5, Gem So, became his primary form, allowing him to dominate in battle. But Drallig forced him to master Makashi for dueling precision, Ataru for mobility, and even Niman for balance. Anakin's transformation was profound. The raw, emotional fighter that Qui-Gon had discovered on Tatooine became a refined warrior, the living embodiment of Jedi combat philosophy. But Drallig also taught restraint, reminding Anakin that power was a tool, not a crutch. You do not win a battle with your blade alone, Drallig often said. You win it with your mind. The lessons stuck. When the Clone Wars erupted, Anakin Skywalker was one of the Jedi's greatest assets. His skill on the battlefield was unparalleled. His ability to read the flow of combat, to command, to strategize, was second only to Master Yoda. His first test came on Jabim, where the Republic was suffering heavy losses. The torrential rains turned the battlefield into mud, and the Separatists, led by General Alto Stratus, had set up an ambush. The Republic forces were being crushed. Drallig and Anakin led a counter-offensive. The two Jedi fought side by side, with Anakin carving through the droids with lightning-fast precision. He switched between forms fluidly. Makashi to slice through the gaps in enemy defences, Ataru to leap from the trenches to high ground, Sarisu to deflect blaster bolts. At one point, a squadron of droidekas rolled in, their shields flickering to life. Drallig signalled Anakin, and without hesitation, he switched to Juyo, the most aggressive form of lightsaber combat. His strikes became unpredictable, overwhelming, a storm of controlled fury. Within seconds, the droidekas fell, their shields pierced, their bodies crumpled in the mud. The Republic forces rallied. Jabim was won. Drallig watched his apprentice closely that day. I trained you to be a Jedi, he said. Today, you fought like a warrior. Remember the difference. Anakin took those words to heart. By the 3rd year of the war, Anakin had become a Jedi General and the single greatest duelist in the Order. Palpatine had taken notice. The Chancellor invited Anakin to private meetings, offering him wisdom, tempting him with the promise of greater power. But Drallig's training had left Anakin immune to manipulation. Power is meaningless without purpose, Anakin once told the Chancellor, echoing Drallig's teachings, and the Jedi served the greatest purpose in the galaxy. Palpatine's plan to corrupt Anakin had failed, but he had one more trick: Order 66. When Palpatine issued Order 66, Anakin was not at the Jedi Temple. He was on Felucia, fighting alongside Aayla Secura. When the clones turned, Anakin's reaction was instant. His blade ignited in a flash of blue, and before the clone troopers could react, he had already cut down the first squad. His movements were flawless, switching from Form 3 to deflect blaster fire, then into Form 5 to strike down the betrayers with overwhelming strength. Aayla, caught off guard, was surrounded. In a blur of motion, Anakin moved faster than the clones could react, cutting them down before a single shot hit its mark. By the time the battle was over, the field was littered with clone bodies. Felucia had fallen silent. Anakin turned to Aayla, breathing heavily. "We need to get back to Coruscant. We need to save the temple." But by the time they had arrived, it was already too late. The Jedi Temple burned. His master, Drallig, was dead. His body was found in the ruins of the dojo, surrounded by the bodies of fallen clones that he had gone down fighting. The loss hit Anakin harder than anything before. His mentor, his guide, the man who shaped him into the Jedi he had become, gone. Palpatine's voice echoed in the HoloNet transmission. "The Jedi betrayed us. The Jedi must be destroyed." But Anakin knew the truth, and he would not let the Sith win. With Drallig gone, Anakin took up his master's mantle. He gathered the surviving Jedi, Shaak Ti, Quinlan Vos, Aayla Secura, and others. He found Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. Together, they formed a resistance. The galaxy was in darkness. With the fall of the Jedi Order and the rise of the Empire, Coruscant had become the heart of Sith rule. The newly anointed Emperor Palpatine sat upon his throne. Under the leadership of Anakin and the surviving Jedi, the scattered remnants of the Order regrouped in the Outer Rim. Their numbers were few, but they were strong. From secret hideouts on remote worlds, the Jedi began striking back. Anakin led the first attack, a surgical strike on an Imperial outpost on Kamino, where the cloning program continued under Palpatine's control. Anakin, Shaak Ti, and Vos infiltrated the facility, cutting down stormtroopers with unmatched precision. Vos, a master of stealth and unorthodox methods, handled sabotage, while Shaak Ti guided them through the cloning chambers. Anakin faced off against an entire squadron of purge troopers, overwhelming them with sheer speed and technique. With the facility destroyed, Palpatine took notice. He had underestimated the last of the Jedi. The Jedi could no longer remain in the shadows. Anakin made the decision to strike at the heart of the Empire, Coruscant. But he couldn't do it alone. Anakin reached out to Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, seeking allies among the early rebellion. With their help, an assault was planned. The Jedi would lead the charge into the Imperial Palace. Their mission? Destroy the Sith. As the battle commenced, the skies of Coruscant were set ablaze. Starfighters clashed in the upper atmosphere, as rebel forces fought to break through Imperial blockades. Below, Jedi cut through stormtroopers and Imperial guards, moving as a single unstoppable force. Anakin and Obi-Wan led the charge into the throne room of the Imperial Palace, where Darth Sidious awaited them. The Emperor grinned. "So, the Chosen One returns. How disappointing." Sidious ignited his crimson saber. He was powerful, but Anakin was stronger. With his mastery of all 7 lightsaber forms, Anakin fought in ways no Jedi had ever fought before. He used Gemso to overpower, Makashi to counter, Ataru to strike from impossible angles. His movements were so fast, so precise, that even Palpatine struggled to keep up. Obi-Wan provided support, using Surisu to deflect Palpatine's lightning, while Yoda leapt into the fight, pressuring the Sith Lord from all sides. But Palpatine was still the Dark Lord of the Sith. With a violent burst of dark energy, he sent Yoda flying and turned his full focus on Anakin. "You could have been my greatest creation," Palpatine hissed, striking with all his fury. Anakin's blade met every strike. Then, he let go of his saber. Palpatine's eyes widened as Anakin reached out with the Force. Everything froze. Anakin was beyond the need for a weapon. He crushed Palpatine's lightsaber in his hand, letting the shards fall to the floor. The Sith Lord felt afraid. Palpatine was lifted off the ground, his body twisting in agony, as Anakin's sheer power crushed him from all sides. The Jedi watched as the Emperor, the greatest Sith Lord in history, was ripped apart by the Chosen One. With one final scream, Sidious was no more. With Palpatine gone, the Empire crumbled. Anakin, standing over the ruins of the throne room, turned to the Jedi. "The war is over." Yoda nodded. "Much to rebuild, there is." But Anakin felt something else. The Jedi Order had fallen because it had lost its way, because it had been blinded by tradition and politics. That could never happen again. Instead of restoring the old order, Anakin, alongside Obi-Wan and Yoda, founded something new. A Jedi Order without arrogance, without corruption, and without fear. Drop the scenarios you would like to see in the comments, and I will pick one every week for Fan Friday. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.